So in this section, we want to look at what is a system of equations. So a system of equations is basically when you're going to have two or more equations. In our case, they're going to be linear. And we want to know how I would get a solution to those systems. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at is what if there were just two equations? Remember, for us, we're going to use two linear equations. Okay, so once we look at two linear equations, the question is, where would we find their solution? So the solution will happen when those two equations intersect. Okay, now if you think about two lines, though, there are cases where they will not intersect. All right, so we actually have three types of solutions that we might see. We could see exactly one, which would be where they actually intersect. So we would have one solution, it's at the intersection point, and we call that a consistent independent system. Right? Now, what if we take those two lines and we never let them cross? Okay, they never intersect. Then we would have no solution. Those would now be what we call parallel lines, and we call that an inconsistent system. Right? The last scenario we could have is if we graphed, or if we had one equation that was exactly the same as the other equation. So when I go to look at those two, it's not that they don't intersect, they actually intersect every single place, right? They infinitely intersect, so we say infinite solutions. So we would see the same line being graphed, and we would call that a consistent dependent system. All right, so graphically, it's a little bit easier to find our solution, right? Because I can look at them and say, oh, they never intersect. Oh, it's the same line. Or, okay, here's my one ordered pair, and I would give what that ordered pair is, right? So the question really becomes, well, what happens when we don't have a graph? So we're going to look at two different ways when we do not have a graph. We're going to look at two different ways to solve a system. We're going to look at solving by substitution, and we're going to look at solving through elimination, which is also called the addition method. All right, so that's going to be coming up here in the next part.